Nightwing, issue 100. Tom Taylor writing with Bruno Redondo, but also a lot of other artists because it's a big issue.
Which I felt really immediately like,
oh yeah,
there was a, like there's a few pages of Redondo, and then it drops off a cliff about 4 pages in.
No, absolutely. Like, I have a lot of good things to say about this issue. There's a lot of things I really liked. I shed tears at a certain point late on in this issue, but the art was definitely like, and it almost did something that I could have respected. Like there's a bit in it where it goes through a series of splash pages where it shows you like kind of an evolution of Nightwing, right? And I thought if it didn't start with Redondo, see if it just like started with another artist, and the idea was that each time the artist changed for those splash pages, it was like it was going to end in Redondo because he's the current Nightwing artist. Right. I could have respected thematically what it was going for there, but that's not what it does. It starts with Redondo, and then Redondo goes away and he comes back near the end.
I believe all of the artists that were on here are ones that were associated with Nightwing. Right?
Sure, yeah.
Which I did like. I just wish there was more of an order to it. So like, because to me, when I think of Nightwing and first getting into comics, it's that Scott McDaniel art. So maybe a lot of the earlier stuff, or maybe the stuff between him and Bruce being done by him would have been okay, but it all just feels like a cluster.
I don't think his art suits the modern action stuff that is written for him.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Also, that like 5 pages of the outfits, I thought was a bit much. I don't think it needed like 4 or 5 full pages of that.
But
it felt like, okay, we're just
it's
a bit self-indulgent at that point.
It's but it's a showpiece for the artist to do like.
Yeah.
Look at this big image of Nightwing and an issue that's celebrating.
What I do love about it, though, I agree it's maybe a bit much, but I do love that there's no Rick Grayson, but they do make a point of doing the blue suit before the red suit and then the current blue suit after the red suit.
I also thought it was interesting, like one of the artists on this is Mikhail Yanin. Obviously, his stuff with Nightwing is actually the Grayson stuff. It's like he doesn't have a suit to draw, like his suit, which is what I'm assuming is happening with the other artists.
But there's no Robin either, right? So I think it's very clear that this is just all the Nightwings. It's not, because it could be very easy to start off with these Robin and then switch to Nightwing and so on.
No, it is. It's just it's very clear that what it's doing here is it's the artists from all those previous runs drawing their suit.
Well, and I think it's also artists that had also ties to Bloodhaven, except for Yanin, right? Because that was all over the world.
Was the New 52 stuff, was that in Bloodhaven?
Yeah, I believe so.
In a while. Was he not traveling during that with the circus?
Maybe a little bit, but it was definitely in Bloodhaven / Gotham primarily.
Because I remember the circus, he reconnects with the circus.
Yeah.
There, and that's where we got the Talon stuff that was retrofitted into the Talon stuff. So, but yeah. So no, I just wish there was more of a form to it and more of a structure. But when the Redondo pieces hit, they hit real nice.
Yeah, no, but I like everything this is doing from a story perspective, though, because it's everything it sets up. Obviously, it's playing on everything that the run's been doing with Heartless making his big move. The crux of the story, we'll come back to Dick with Bruce because it comes back at the end, so we'll just get to it when it comes back in because that's where all the juicy stuff is. But it primarily focuses around the idea that the prison, the prison in Bloodhaven is the first thing you see when you're coming into the city via the bridge. And Nightwing doesn't like that because it's like, here's a reminder of a lot of our failures, not to mention how corrupt the system is, so that a lot of the prisoners really don't really belong there. They just they can't afford bail. And
that the point of Bloodhaven is that they relish the cruelty, right, by locking people in there and reminding them of all the people coming into the city or right on the out. Like, very, very good social commentary from Taylor there.
Yeah, and I don't dislike the second artist by any means. Like, I think it looks like it's like a fun 90s style. It's just such a jarring shift from Redondo.
If you're reading that 90s book, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
But in this one, it just.
But after the sensibilities of Redondo, and it seems so much softer, and the colors, pop. It's not as heavy on the inks.
Yeah, everything's just very different. But Heartless breaks out of the prison. He wants to recruit all the prisoners, including KJ Beast, to raise hell in Bloodhaven. He wants to prove that the city, is basically a mess, and You can't restore order here. It's always going to have this element of chaos. And even releases Elephant Man into the into the city. So that's kind of our big action thing of the issue, is that all this going on is like Nightwing shows up, eventually the Titans show up as well to help, and it's them dealing with this crisis to give us all the action and the spectacle, which is fun stuff. But I think the more heartfelt part of it is that he actually convinces some of the prisoners, like, hey, this guy that's recruited you and let you out is like a child killer. He literally takes families and breaks them apart and murders people. Do you really want to be associated with them? And actually recruits some of the prisoners to help with the crisis, which I thought was a good bit of, it's a very good Dick Grayson sort of form of heroism as well. But just in general, it was a nice bit of social commentary. It's like, hey, not everyone in here, like someone who's in here because they, cheated their taxes a bit, it doesn't make them want to side with a serial killer, and cause like infinite darkness in the city and evil and whatever. So makes a lot of sense to me. But yeah, so Titans show up. It's a fun bit of time. They all split up into do their individual bits. I really like the page of Beast Boy becoming an elephant to take on Elephant Man. I thought that was a really nice, well done little sequence. Having fun with the concept. I
do have an issue though, and am I just being considered on the art that when Beast Boy turns back into his regular form, he's wearing an eye patch still. Shouldn't the animal version have an eye patch? I think they're missing an opportunity.
That's a fair statement. I mean, I will say at least that eye that's got the eye patch over it is constantly in shadow when he's the elephant, so it might suggest that he's still missing that eye even when he's an elephant.
Okay. That's fair. I just think it would be funny.
I mean, I don't know for sure. I genuinely don't. I'm just saying that maybe because, but you're right. He does have the eye patch back on. Maybe he's got like a spare in his pocket that he whips back on after he's retransformed.
I mean, he loses all of his clothes when transformed, so I think we can argue that the eye patch just goes with the rest of his outfit. Yeah,
I think that's fair. Yeah, I'm sure there's an old Titans issue somewhere that explains how he gets his clothes back.
Yeah, it's not like the big green elephant has got his red outfit stretched over it.
That is very true.
I'm just saying they're just missing an opportunity for.
I just wanted to see an elephant with an eye patch.
I'm going to say actively say the eye is missing because in the bit where it's transforming, you can see it does like a step-by-step transformation of his face, and I'm going to say there's no eye there.
Yeah, no, I would say as well. Yeah, it's just sort of shadow.
Yeah.
I think why I'm not saying it's conclusive because you never actually see both eyes at the same time to see what the other one looks like in the art. So I would say it's inconclusive on that ground, but that's the only reason why I'm doubtful. But otherwise, I agree. Yeah, it looks like there's no eye there. So yeah, but anyway, but the big thing is that Heartless actually wants to go and see Zuko, and this actually makes a lot of sense because we found out Heartless's backstory in I think it was the annual, which was a great issue. Revealed a lot of really interesting stuff about Heartless's backstory, that he was basically like this kid who was destined to be a serial killer because he had all those like impulses, and he was in the crowd when the Graysons died, and that was the time he realized that he liked watching people die, which I loved that as a
point.
Yeah, it felt like such a natural thing. It didn't feel like a big retcon because he's just because it was a public event, so it wasn't that much big to say that he was just in the crowd.
Like these weird parallels with Bruce with the butler and stuff.
Yeah. So this idea that he actually kind of like, is like a fanboy of Zuko because Zuko's the one who committed that murder effectively and wants to like bring him in onto his plans is actually really interesting and makes the Zuko stuff of like, capturing him and dealing with him in the last several issues come back around. And it's like, it wasn't just like a fun thing to do with him dealing with Zuko. It was like, that's setting up him for later in the run as well, because he's going to end up being with Heartless. It makes all of this feel like it is some sort of grand arc that's about everything in Nightwing sort of coming together into a story.
Just the decision that Taylor made to have we all call Dick Grayson the heart of the DCU, right? And that now his main foil is Heartless, and it's all about, cruelty and, basically this shadow of who Dick Grayson is, I think, and that shadow overstretching Bloodhaven as Dick Grayson tries to make it a better place. I definitely think that's the bigger arc at play here.
Yeah. And we also have obviously Dick and KG Beast having a bit of a fight. I didn't particularly like the there's a point here when he gets tackled by KG Beast where Dick mentions that he's he's improved his suit, he's improved his batons and his grapple over the years to handle more weight. But that doesn't change the fact that his shoulder blade can only take so much, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and you can feel that in that, as KGB tackles him. But yeah, no, you definitely the shoulder pop here with all the stars around it and stuff.
So Superman and Wonder Woman show up after the Titans have helped Dick take care of KG Beast, and they've got an offer. And they show him the Hall of Justice, and basically, Superman carves out the Nightwing logo into one of the chairs, and I mean it's all like screwed up, but there's like one chair still standing.
It's the only chair left.
Yeah, he's like here, and he's like, and I actually like this. He's like, I'll sit in it once it's cooled down, because right now it's like molten hot.
The molten metal, little thing, I appreciate the symbolism, but I might want to wait until the molten metal. It's not molten metal before I sit down. Clark's like, yeah, that's fair.
It's kind of wild that, like, between this Nightwing run and possibly other things, if Taylor's alluding to other books that are coming.
I'm gonna find that tweet just to get what he actually said.
Yeah, we're kind of getting the promise of, way back when we started this show, in the first couple of weeks there was like a Justice League issue from the old book before everything relaunched, or there was still a couple issues left. And one of the issues was Batman telling young Dick Grayson that one day he's going to lead the Justice League. I think it's very fascinating that we're finally getting to at least kind of do that story. And it won't last forever, obviously, because comics are cyclical, but we're finally getting a chance to actually explore that. And that's what he's talking to Batman about when it comes back around, and he's with Batman at Alfred's grave. They talk about how that they've never been here together to visit the gravesite. And this is the scene, I think this is the scene of the issue, because this is the scene that it's like, okay, what always comes up when we talk about the relationship between Batman and Dick Grayson, we talk about how Alfred was this bridge between them. That Alfred would like sort of slap sense into Bruce when he's being too much of a stoic asshole, and he would be there to like communicate between them. And that's not there anymore. So Bruce has to actually say everything that he's feeling for once, and he does. And he calls Nightwing his son. Eventually, Dick hugs him and calls him Dad, and it's all very emotional. Every time Tom Taylor brings up Alfred in this book, like I get weepy-eyed. Like, yeah,
it's been that way since the first issue.
Literally since the first issue, yeah.
Well, and it makes Alfred's death feel like it's important, right? Because in comic books, we kind of just roll our eyes at deaths now, because it's ever. But this is the one death that, between everything Taylor's done and then the stuff with Damian that was happening in Robin.
Joe's wild about it is that the death itself was one that we didn't believe, but everything that's been done since then has made it feel like the most important death that we've had since any of us have probably been reading comics.
Yeah, it's been 2 years now.
About
maybe even 3 at this point.
Maybe more. Yeah,
but like I say, it's been a couple of years. And it's starting to feel like it might stick for a while, as opposed to at the time, like, this will be a year tops,
right?
But now I'm like, I don't know, like. I'm not going to say forever because this is comics, but this could go for a decade.
Well, shit. Batman versus Robin, we were assuming that this is how they bring him back, right? And then that all ended up being a ploy.
They spun that around. But Wade did a good job almost making me believe. Just once or twice, there was just a little bit of like, I don't know. You're making me hope here.
But it's because of moments like this. And the one that gets me in this is that, Dick takes off the domino mask, and then Bruce takes down the cowl. And that, we see Bruce's face for the first time
in this
issue. And as they're talking, and then that's what it leads to the hug and just Bruce's reaction. So not just that he takes off the mask because it shows that he's, talking to Dick, person to person, but it also lets Redondo show us Bruce's reaction to it, like in a really good way. So that whole sequence is really, really well done.
I think the hope, just before I talk about some of the dialogue in the scene, I think the hope with this is that, again, nothing lasts forever in comics, but I think you hope that this, like, Dick leading the Titans as the new Justice League era and the Alfredless, like, Alfred's dead era, because it's actually good. It's not because we don't like Alfred, it's because his death's actually had an impact. I think the hope is that we look back in this kind of like the way we look back in like post-crisis, where there's like a 10-year, 15-year period where that was the continuity until it got reset again. And it was, we might look back at that as like a golden era for us, where that's maybe one of our favorite times in comics. And
well, I mean, you think about Mark Waid's Flash run, and that was all about while they come to terms with not having Barry, So along the same lines, this is, Dick coming to terms with being his own man while also He's his own man, but he's his own man because he's the heart of the DCU. He's kind of that centerpiece that he has the connections to everybody. It's not just the Titans and Bruce, but Superman and Diana and all the people that come to talk to him here.
I mean, yeah, it was really nice actually. Just even having Superman and Wonder Woman be the ones to come and ask this of him, not Bruce. It's like it's the other ones that he's not directly connected to that are like, hey, no, we trust you with this. It should be you that does this. And that leads to the dialogue of the scene, which is Bruce saying, "Oh, Alfred would say that you inspire me," and things like that. It's like there's a lot of really heartfelt sentiments in there. And he says that Bruce thinks that he's failed him. He says, "I'm sorry, I failed you. I failed." And he's like, "You've not failed anything. What are you talking about?" But yeah, no, it's a really sweet scene. It's sort of basically like they don't do it too often. So whenever they whip out, and this goes for the whole family. So whenever they whip out like Alfred referring to Bruce as his son, or Bruce referring to Alfred as dad, and then here doing it with Dick and Bruce on the other end of the spectrum. It always kind of tugs a little bit because it's kind of the thing that we all refer to them that way. We all think about them that way, but it's not like official terms because they're not actual fathers and sons and grandfathers. Right. But so it's nice when they just come out and say it because it makes it feel a bit because it's what we already feel as the audience. So it resonates when they actually come out and say it eventually.
I saw people pushing back against this, and I don't get that at all. Because I get that you could say that Bruce and Dick have a older brother, younger brother relationship, but for everything else, I mean, Bruce is his mentor and father figure. So I don't understand being upset in this issue where they're both being emotionally vulnerable that, he calls him dad.
No, I mean, as someone who amusingly just watched the animated movie, which was the adaptation of Batman Ninja Turtles. Yeah. The comparison I would absolutely make is that Batman is Splinter, and then the 4 Robins are the Turtles. Like, that's the comparison. He's the father figure.
Yeah, like I didn't understand people being upset because I hadn't read this until last night because I tried to save Nightwing for close to last. And I saw people being upset with things that had happened, and I don't. Most of the time, I get when people are
upset at this. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah, this is good, earnest, heartfelt character progression. This is great.
Like, right? I might have nitpicked at the pacing with the splashes earlier on, but all the character beats.
But I feel like people are just upset that it's Tom Taylor, and there's a bit of hating going on just because. But the whole dynamic
it's because he made Superman gay, Matt. That's why there's a group of people who are upset.
Maybe, but just nitpicking this of calling him dad in an emotionally vulnerable scene.
And that's their terminology, by the way. I know he's bisexual. I'm saying what they're saying.
Yeah. But I don't get that. And it's along the people. These are the same people that also don't like when Babs and Dick are in a relationship for whatever reason. And it's just like, well,
hang on. Yeah. Let's not lump me in with those.
No. but no, just like it's along the same that people are just being upset to be upset. And again, not lumping Connor in because I'm sure Connor can articulate why, and whatever. But every time I see it, it's just people it's not what they want. So they get upset. And it's just like, well, it fits the story. This is wonderfully told. And the emotions there and everything is earned. Every interaction between Bruce and Dick that's led to them, being at odds with each other, it's because they're father and son. As someone with a very difficult relationship with his father, I feel their relationship fully. And it feels real. So it just this scene landed extremely well. And even though now that you can see it coming a million miles away, that hug and it getting a whole page
for that,
it's a great moment because it's not like we haven't seen them hug before, but it's
not often.
But it's Bruce. It's Bruce coming to terms with this is my adult son, and I've done things right.
Yeah, it's not about being unpredictable because I think if you're into the story, it has impact. And hell, even that opening page, I was thinking, hey, that kind of looks like a Titan's tower, but at the top part. And then obviously the end of the book is he's announcing to the world because Dick's decided to buy the prison and kind of reform it. The idea being that when someone comes to Bloodhaven, the first thing they're going to see is the Titan's tower. So it's a symbol of hope rather than a prison.
Yeah. And this Titans team, which started as a group of sidekicks, now has its own legacy. So it's also a symbol of legacy and becoming your own thing, which is kind of what not your own person, but Bloodhaven is being transformed for the better.
Just get out of Gotham's shadow.
Yeah, just just like Nightwing and the Titans have done, right?
Yeah.
They become their own people. So that maybe there was a Titans Tower also in New York, and that was the whole Titans Academy. And I don't say this to sound, shitty or whatever, but has a book mattered less in recent memory as Titans Academy? Because it doesn't feel like anything that happened in this book has had anything in here. With Taylor's Nightwing, like nothing with the Titans, like it's funny to me.
I guess obviously the sales for or whatever, then they know that maybe it's not worth. Look, it sounded like they let it reach a natural end point and finish, and whatever. But it feels like they know this is going to be a bigger deal, a bigger hit. Maybe this is just something Taylor always planned as part of his Nightwing run, and. I don't know if he's tweeting that he's hinting that maybe there will be a sort of spin-off book that he'll also be doing.
What I'll do is I'll get the tweet here. Basically, someone asked if the Titans are staying in the Nightwing book. He's like, yeah, I love them, but wouldn't it be better for them to have a separate series?
So he sort of silently hinted at that, okay.
And Tom Taylor quoted it saying, Titans are around for a 4-issue arc with Travis Moore, and then Bruno Redondo and I have big things planned.
Let's
Which
go.
definitely... sounds to me like, okay, there might be a Titans book launching after that 4-issue arc, perhaps.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But if this means losing Redondo and Nightwing, I'm going to be a little sad. Because I like Redondo's Nightwing work.
I'm not convinced that means there's another book coming from that wording. But, I hope there is.
I think it's in response to someone asking about them in a separate series. And then, and then saying, hey, there's big things coming, puts me slightly towards there being a book coming.
It sounds more like to me saying, you only get them for an arc, but don't worry, there's big things coming that you'll enjoy afterwards. Like, it sounds like not a make good, but...
you would call it Justice League, but basically making the Titans book a Justice League.
Titans League,
yeah, whatever. Making that a Taylor Redondo book, I think, is exciting for me, So
maybe that's how you separate it into like phase 2 of his Nightwing arc, is that you have a new regular artist instead of Redondo, and Redondo goes off to do the Titans book. If that's what's planned, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I
don't know, but all those emotional moments and the stuff too that's after that's almost like an epilogue when he they start hitting around the tower with him and his sister standing overlooking it with Babs and the dog. I just think that's also some very nice family stuff too, because this is now his Bloodhaven family, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, he's got a supporting cast, which is nice.
Yeah, like all in one place, and they're all with him. So and then just the image of him and Babs holding hands in the silhouette too, just really good stuff.
Yeah, because I would agree, it's the art changes early on, and maybe the overindulgence with the extra splash pages. It hurts the pacing a little bit in that first half. I generally like the crisis that they're dealing with, and I do especially like the pairing of Heartless and Zuko, which obviously we don't see what the outcome of that is. It teases that he's making the offer. We assume that there will be a relationship between them, and we'll see what fruit that bears in coming issues. I suspect it'll probably be after the rest of the Titans arc, if I was to guess. Maybe that'll just be its own thing, and then we'll get back to that.
It's why we were talking about in solicits with the trades. This feels like the ending of an arc for a trade for me here. With this, and the next arc with the 4-issue Titans arc.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just the way that when they defeat KG Beast, right, and then Starfire hands him the Heartless mask, and it says Dick Grayson has more to lose. Yeah. Like, that just feels like a tease for the next.
Yeah, like Heartless is clearly like this ongoing threat. This isn't the Heartless arc,
right?
Yeah,
I don't know if there will be a singular Heartless arc by the end, or if it'll just be he's just ever present.
Yeah, he's constant threat.
Like a specter.
All of it, yeah. But it's definitely making it all feel like one big run that's all tied together, and it's saying that this has already been 22 issues plus an annual or two at this point. Yeah, and happily doesn't feel like it's ramping up to end right now, which is nice. If anything, it feels like it's starting a whole fresh chapter with this Titan stuff.
I could buy this as a halfway point.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So things are exciting in Nightwing land. which I guess we'd call Bloodhaven, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean. So Matt, what are you giving Nightwing 100?
I'm gonna give this. Let's see what I do. I wish you had asked Connor first, so I know where to gauge.
No, that makes it too easy for you.
Because the art was a problem. But I also really liked it, so I don't know if a 0.5 or a solid number, right? I'll go 8.5, but that could be amended depending what Pete Connor said.
Temporary until I hear what you two have said. Okay,
Yeah.
Connor, what are you giving it?
I'll put Matt's mind at ease because I'm also going to go with an 8.5. I think art changes and some pacing in the first half is what brings it down. Because obviously all the character beats kind of and anything that was Redondo especially would have brought it up to a 9. But I think overall it just has to lose half a point.
Well, as a Dick Grayson mark, like the emotional beat with him and Bruce really hit. Like it hit me harder than anything in a comic has in quite a while. But I mean, I can't really argue with the. I share all the same complaints with the art changes. So I guess I will agree with the 8.5. Although I was tempted to.
I was tempted to go 9, but I'm like, am I going too high?
I mean, I'm tempted to go 9 too. I'm just being a little objective as best I can.
That's what I did too. That's why I was waiting to see what you did, because if you went 9, I was like, all right, 9. Agreed. Whole number.
You're allowed to have a different rating, man.
No, but I do, because the art was a big holdup. Like, that's the one negative thing I can pull from this book.